It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. That iconic opening line from Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities, it just drops you straight into this world of, well, deep contradiction. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the year 1775, specifically how it's painted in that very first chapter.
Hmm.
Our mission really is to unpack the surprising truths, the stark realities, and maybe some subtle warnings that Dickens weaves in there.
And he says it himself, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That the period was so far like the present period.
Exactly. That
You
some
know,
noisiest authorities insisted on seeing it only in superlatives, best or worse.
right. No nuance allowed, apparently.
So yeah, get ready for what should be a fascinating chat. We want to go beyond just history facts and hopefully give you some of those aha moments.
Sounds good. It's such a rich chapter to start with.
Okay, so let's unpack this opening then. Dickens just hits you, bam, with this huge list of contradictions.
Right away.
Wisdom and foolishness, belief and incredulity, light, darkness, hope, despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us.
It's intense. He establishes this era of just extreme opposites immediately. Sets the whole tone.
And that parallel he draws right at the start to the present period, I mean, our time, that's pretty striking, isn't it? Like holding up a mirror.
It absolutely feels like a mirror. And what's fascinating is how he shows this deep-seated belief among the powerful people.
Right, in 1775.
Yes, 1775. You got the king with the large jaw and the queen with the plain face in England.
Uh-huh.
And the king with the large jaw and queen with the fair face in France.
Okay.
And Dickens points out that the lords of the state, preserves of loaves and fishes, basically the elites in both countries, they genuinely believed things in general were settled forever.
Wow, just settled.
Yeah, with this almost, you could say, willful blindness to everything that was actually brewing underneath. It's this profound illusion of stability.
An illusion built on denial, really.
Exactly. It shows the fragility, the fragility of a power structure that relies on everyone just pretending everything's fine.
And while they're pretending, England seems caught up in some, well, pretty weird spiritual stuff.
Oh, definitely. Dickens notes that spiritual revelations were conceded to England at that favored period.
Yeah, like Mrs. Southcott. She was, what, only 25?
And apparently, a soldier announced her sublime appearance by warning that London and Westminster were about to be swallowed up.
Right. And then there's the Cock Lane ghost, this famous hoax. It had only been laid around a dozen of years ago after wrapping out messages.
And even this year, 1775, other spirits were supposedly rapping, but Dickens says they were supernaturally deficient in originality.
Ah, yeah, he has such a dry wit there. But here's where it gets really interesting, I think.
Okay.
He puts these spiritual things right next to what he calls mere messages in the earthly order of events.
Ah, yes. The messages that had just come to the English crown and people.
From a Congress of British subjects in America.
Precisely. And Dickens's comment there is so sharp. He says these messages from America proved more important to the human race than any communications yet received through any of the chickens of the Cock Lane brood.
Which really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It raises that big question. What do we choose to pay attention to?
Yeah.
What gets dismissed, maybe at our own peril? He's really commenting on misplaced focus.
Meanwhile, over in France, Dickens says it was less favored on the whole as to matters spiritual. Instead, France rolled with exceeding smoothness downhill, making paper money and spending it.
That sounds ominous, like financial recklessness.
It certainly hints at that. But it wasn't just money. France was also entertaining itself with some pretty horrific things, which Dickens calls, with heavy irony, humane achievement.
Oh, you mean that awful case?
Yes, under the guidance of Christian pastors, no less. This poor youth sentenced to have his hands cut off, his tongue torn out with pincers, and his body burned alive.
Just for not kneeling. Just for not kneeling to a dirty procession of monks, passing maybe 50 or 60 yards away. It's barbaric.
It's unbelievable.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it's not just one horrific act. It's a symbol, a really chilling symbol of the kind of arbitrary cruelty and systemic injustice that existed. The conditions were absolutely ripe for a revolution.
And speaking of revolution, Dickens then brings in these incredibly powerful metaphors, doesn't he? The ones that sort of foreshadow everything.
Oh, they are potent. The woodman fate.
Yeah, already marking trees in the woods of France and Norway.
To become the guillotine, that movable framework with a sack and a knife in it, terrible in history.
Yeah.
The imagery is so strong.
And then the farmer, death.
Setting aside those rude carts bespattered with rustic mire.
The tumbrils, the carts that would carry people to the guillotine, which the farmer, Death, had already set apart to be his tumbrils of the revolution.
It gives you chills.
So what's the real message here with these figures, this woodman and farmer working silently?
Well, I think the key insight is how change, even massive revolutionary change, often builds quietly, unseen.
Unheeded, as he says.
Exactly. Ignored or even actively suppressed. Dickens says to entertain any suspicion that they were awake was to be atheistical and traitorous.
Wow. So acknowledging reality was seen as betrayal.
Pretty much. But it's more than just unseen forces. By calling them fate and death, he suggests something almost inevitable, something beyond human control working away, regardless of whether the rulers noticed or not. Their ignorance was tragic, but ultimately irrelevant to the outcome.
Okay, so while fate and death are working silently, what was life actually like on the ground, say, back in England? Dickens doesn't paint a rosy picture there either.
Not at all. He says there was scarcely an amount of order and protection to justify much national boasting.
Sounds like an understatement. He talks about daring burglaries, armed men, highway robberies in London every night.
Yeah.
Families being warned publicly to move their furniture to warehouses if they left town. Can you imagine?
It sounds like total chaos. And not just random crime either. He points out it was often organized, bold.
Like that highwayman who was a city tradesman by day.
Exactly. Shoots another tradesman who recognizes him. What does that tell you about, the breakdown of order?
Or the mail coach robbery. 7 robbers, the guard shoots 3, runs out of ammo, gets shot himself.
And then they just rob the mail in peace. It's almost darkly comic.
And even the Lord Mayor of London, the top official.
Right. Held up on Turnham Green by a single highwayman in front of his whole entourage.
The sheer nerve, it's staggering.
It really underscores how little authority the symbols of power actually had on the streets. And it wasn't just the streets.
No, inside the prisons, too. Newgate prisoners fighting turnkeys, the guards firing blunderbusses loaded with shot into the crowds.
Unbelievable.
And thieves just snipping diamond crosses off lords' necks at court functions.
Right in the drawing rooms.
And the craziest part, Dickens notes that during skirmishes in places like St. Giles's, with musketeers firing on the mob and the mob firing back, nobody thought any of these occurrences much out of the common way.
Say it was just normal.
Yeah.
Accepted chaos.
Yeah.
And amidst all that, you have the hangman. Always busy, but Dickens calls him ever worse than useless.
Right. In constant requisition, burning people's hands, burning pamphlets.
Executing an atrocious murderer one day, and the next, a wretched pilfer who had robbed a farmer's boy of 6pence.
6pence, the disparity is just jarring.
It really is. And it begs that question, what does it say about a society when you have these incredibly brutal punishments right alongside rampant, almost ignored lawlessness?
It feels like the whole system of justice was broken.
Arbitrary.
Completely broken. Ineffective at stopping crime, but brutal in its application. A failed social contract, really.
So bringing it back to the top, those monarchs, the 2 of the large jaws, the 2 of the plain and the fair faces.
Dickens says they trod with stir enough and carried their divine rights with a high hand. They were making plenty of noise, acting powerful. But as he keeps reminding us, the woodman and the farmer worked unheeded.
That contrast is everything. The loud, oblivious power on the surface.
And the silent, unstoppable forces of destiny working underneath. It's such a powerful theme.
Absolutely.
So what an incredible picture of 1775 this chapter paints. Just this massive paradox. Extremes everywhere, spiritual distractions, shocking injustice, crime running wild, and all while fate is silently sharpening its tools, completely ignored by the people in charge.
That's why Dickens is so brilliant, I think. An account like this does more than just list historical facts. It gives you the feel of the time, the mood, the deep contradiction.
Right, you understand the tension.
Exactly. You sense the hidden currents, the things simmering just below the surface that, often precede huge changes. He captures that feeling of a world rushing towards something unknown with almost nobody seeing it coming.
It's a powerful reminder, and maybe a good thought to leave you, the listener, with. As we navigate our own times, which often feel full of those noisiest authorities insisting on seeing things in extremes.
The best of times, the worst of times.
Yeah. How can we maybe get better attuned to that quiet, unheeded work of our own woodman and farmer? What are the subtle forces shaping our future?
What are the mere earthly messages that might actually be incredibly important, that we might be overlooking today because we're distracted by, well, maybe the modern equivalent of the Cock Lane ghost?
Something to think about.